Let's get Dennis up here.
Perfect.
There might be a bit of a bug.
If for what it's worth, I had to leave and rejoin. I don't know if Dennis might need to do the same.
Yeah, it seems he tried that. Oh, there we go. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Yeah, thanks guys for joining. Yeah, our partnership came out a couple weeks ago and wanted to get a live space on the record reviewing our collaboration and sharing some of this news with the developer community. So yeah, for those listening, and we'll post a recording to YouTube following this. We have Michael Garland, head of product at Alchemy, and then Dennis Vadiv leading DevX at ZetaChain. Maybe you guys want to give a quick intro and how you got into the industry here, just to get started.
Sure thing. You want to kick it off, Dennis?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in crypto since 2019, primarily contributing to the Cosmos ecosystem, built a bunch of open source software for developers in Cosmos, and joined ZetaChain in 2023. I've been building tools and tutorials, documentation, doing DevRel, like pretty much everything to make it easier for developers to build universal apps on ZetaChain. Um, yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. And I'm Mike Garland. I lead the product team here at Alchemy. Let's see. I've been in the space for almost 6 years, since mid 2018. Started my Web3 journey at Alchemy, so this is the only company I've ever known in Web3. Jumped in, I would say, because of a combination of things. One was the smartest people I knew were jumping into Web3 at the time, so that got me to pay attention. And then Ethereum in particular could do at the time as a platform for developers to build new and exciting applications. So fell in love and have been in the space ever since. Initially kind of helping us launch our developer platform back in 2018, and then a bunch of products and exciting things with developers since then.
Very nice, thank you. And yeah, ZetaChain was my entry point into Web3. Also attracted to all of the smart people in the space, and just a lot more fun to build stuff in Web3. So yeah, how is ZetaChain and Alchemy collaborating to build the first universal blockchain, and what are some of the key problems that this solves for developers? Dennis, maybe I'll go to you first if you want to talk about the value prop of ZetaChain to developers in the first place, and Alchemy's role in helping support DevX.
Yeah, of course. So with ZetaChain, developers build universal apps, which basically means an app that you can deploy once in a single contract, and then any user from any connected chain can easily interact with it, send tokens and data. This architecture allows apps to scale to hundreds or thousands of blockchains while keeping the logic in a single place, which is a very convenient kind of for both for developers and for end users. So this is what ZetaChain in a nutshell. But what Alchemy provides is well, a bunch of products, but like specifically for ZetaChain right now, Alchemy offers RPC support for not only for ZetaChain, but also for other blockchains that are connected, which is actually very important, right? Because with ZetaChain, a developer builds an app that interfaces with all these blockchains. So it's very important to have a product that can support the blockchains that you're interested in, and that's what Alchemy provides, right? So very solid RPC support, and as well as subgraph support, which is also important because you need to get the data from the blockchain. Can't really query RPC for everything. So I think these two products is like a very good kind of starter pack for developers, because I talk to developers every day, right? And very often they ask specifically about Alchemy, like, do you guys have Alchemy support? And I'm happy that uh, I can say that we do. So which makes it easier for developers to actually migrate their applications from other chains to ZetaChain, making them universally accessible by users. And yeah, just having support of the provider that they're already using makes this transition much easier.
Yeah, I think what I would add to that is, number one, I'm extremely excited about what ZetaChain is building, and really feels fundamentally different than what I've seen with any other chain. To give you context, when I started at Alchemy, maybe a year into my journey here, I think the average team that we worked with was using uh, a little over 1 chains in total, like 1.4 chains or something like that. 2 years into my journey, it was 2.5. Today, the average team we work with uses north of 8 chains. And so there's really this pretty compelling trend towards developers needing very multi-chain support for the things that they're building. And it gets increasingly complex, both for the developers and for end users, to manage an ecosystem like that. Like the overhead of having to operate on so many chains without an abstraction like what ZetaChain is building, I think, is quite high. And so what you all are building fundamentally at the protocol level, I think, is really, really compelling. To add to what Dennis said, I think there's a couple of things I would note. One is we've recognized that for teams to be successful building in Web3, they need to be able to build the quality of application that you would get in the Web2 world, which means extremely high uptime. It means extremely low latency, so that your app is always loading and always fast. But it also means kind of abstractions that help you build faster and do so more intuitively. And so subgraphs helps with that, of course, and some products we'll be releasing for ZetaChain in the future, like our enhanced APIs, also make a really big dent there.
Cool. Thanks, guys. And I'm curious, back to you, Michael, like how Alchemy evaluates which chains to support. I think I had Nick on the stage at ETH Brussels. We did a universal blockchain summit, and he was saying how Alchemy supports only EVM chains. Curious about how you guys approach which chains to support, and you mentioned a little bit about ZetaChain's value prop, but anything to add around what really compelled the partnership?
Yeah, so I would add one asterisk on what Nick said in Brussels, which is we support primarily EVM chains at this point. We actually support Solana as the one non-EVM chain we offer at this point. That's mostly just in the name of getting as much leverage as we can. Like I fully expect this time next year we'll be supporting many more non-EVM chains. But the nature of our product suite is that we can offer deeper support for chains that are similar to each other. It basically becomes harder to extend that platform to chains as the protocol becomes more and more different. And so we made the decision that we can kind of have the biggest impact for the ecosystem overall if we focus on deep support for EVM chains as opposed to all chains. So outside of that, I'd say the main thing we look for in supporting new chains is there's really 2 criteria. One is, we work with tens to hundreds of thousands of developers on a weekly basis here at Alchemy. And so number one is always, what do developers need? What are they asking for? So a close relationship with developers in the space and using them as a guiding light for what matters, I think is the first thing. And so as more and more of our users say that a certain chain or its value prop is interesting, that's going to be the biggest thing that kind of skews us to support a particular chain. The other thing I would say is like we're really focused on making sure developers can expand their toolkit, like what they're capable of doing. And so the other big thing we look for is what the chain is adding from a functionality perspective for developers. So even if they're not asking for it today, if we can see that what a chain is providing and allows developers to build with is really compelling and resonates with the pain points we've heard, then that'll be a really big push to support a new chain. So I'd say ZetaChain, like the latter category, I think is extremely compelling to us. We felt this pain point of the kind of complexity that multi-chain brings to what developers are building. And the way that ZetaChain seeks to solve that is, I think, really, really compelling to us, fits really nicely into what we're trying to do for our developers. We also felt a healthy amount of interest from developers. And so I think there was a combo of both of those two things kind of shining in a direction that made us want to work with you guys in a deep way.
Awesome. Yeah. And yeah, I think where we can add value to the Alchemy developer community is that you can build EVM compatible apps in familiar Solidity language. But ZetaChain effectively gives a smart contract layer to non-smart chain like Bitcoin, eventually Solana, and Cosmos IBC integration on the roadmap. So kind of meeting developers where they are. Dennis, anything to highlight on how that exactly works? Like what are universal apps, and how do they bring accessibility to and from these other non-smart or non-EVM chains?
Yeah, so besides being like a very versatile platform for EVM developers to build their apps, ZetaChain acts as a smart contract layer for chains like Bitcoin, where instead of just being an L2, ZetaChain provides a platform where you deploy a contract and it can talk both to EVM chains, Bitcoin, and as well as other chains like Solana in the near future. So the way it works under the hood is you deploy a contract to ZetaChain, and a Bitcoin user can natively interact with this app by sending a Bitcoin transaction. So they sign a single transaction on Bitcoin using their favorite wallet, like XDeFi, Unisat, Xverse, OKX, whatever they are currently using, the same exact wallet. They send a transaction, sign it, and the BTC that they sent in this transaction goes directly into this universal app on ZetaChain. The app then can execute any kind of logic. It can mint NFTs based on this BTC input. It can put it in a vault and provision Zeta for a user. It really depends on like what you want your app to do, and it can also trigger transactions on connected chains. So a good example, very easy to understand, kind of practical example is a Bitcoin user wants to send some meme coins on Ethereum to someone, right? You can, with ZetaChain, it's super easy to do this. So you just send BTC, it goes to ZetaChain, gets converted into one of the supported tokens, native gas, stablecoin, meme coin, anything, and it gets sent to the recipient. Of course, it's not limited to these use cases, but it's just a very kind of easy to understand. A single Bitcoin transaction can trigger a sequence of events on ZetaChain and on connected chains as well.
Thanks, Dennis. And Michael, in terms of getting started for developers, what kind of resources are available? Like I think the tutorial guides are live in Alchemy docs and ZetaChain. I think your team mentioned there might be some credits that come out for developers that get signed up today. Walk us through like the process of getting started and what we should know on that front.
Yeah, great question. So two main things I would call out. One is our documentation is full of tutorials, like really high quality docs. We spend a lot of time making sure that every chain we support, including ZetaChain, is extremely approachable for new developers and folks who have been in Web3 for quite some time. So that's a great place to get started. Yeah, I would call out, we're doing something really special that we haven't done before with ZetaChain. So we've actually set aside $20,000 in credits for ZetaChain developers. So anybody who's on our growth or our scale tier can get $50 or $200. And so we're really excited basically to jump into this partnership with both feet and make sure that all of our tooling is extremely accessible without price being a barrier to entry across the board. So really, really excited to engage with the ZetaChain community through that. The other thing I would call out is, in addition to those credits, we do have a very large free tier that we offer for developers as well. So even in perpetuity after those 20,000 credits are claimed, we try to make it extremely low friction, extremely easy for folks to jump on and use the really high quality tooling that we offer, especially on ZetaChain.
Perfect. Yeah, and thank you on behalf of the ZetaChain community. That's great. And there's more stuff coming, I understand. So API, NFT support coming out later this year. Help us understand the significance of this feature and how this will help developers.
Yeah, so the NFT API, I think, is indicative of a really common category of problem that developers run into, which is you go to do something on a blockchain that you think should be really intuitive and easy, like get the NFTs that an individual user owns. And it's actually incredibly difficult to do. Like if you wanted to get the NFTs that Dennis owns on a chain that doesn't have an NFT API, you effectively need to look through the entire history of Dennis's interactions with that chain, sum up all of the transactions where they've interacted with NFTs, and basically compute what he likely owns in his NFT collection today. So especially on chains like Ethereum that have been around forever, you need to look through millions to billions of transactions to figure out just a couple NFTs that Dennis might own, depending on how much of an NFT whale he is. And so it's prohibitively difficult for most developers, even most enterprise teams, to solve this problem. And so what Alchemy has done is jumped in and built an NFT API, which does that for you. So instead of having to do all of that historical data indexing and computation, you make a single call, kind of the intuitive thing you might have thought existed natively on chain, to say get NFTs for Dennis's address, and you get back all the NFTs that are owned there. I'd say that's the basic problem we're solving. On top of it, we have really high quality metadata indexing, so making sure that all of the traits and images for NFTs are there. They're refreshing during reveals, things that are actually deceptively difficult to do on chain. But fundamentally, what we're trying to do is give developers what now I think is a suite of 20 to 30 APIs related to NFTs to make building any NFT application as intuitive as it should be.
Very cool. Dennis, anything to add on the API NFT support, how this will help developers, what you're hearing from the ecosystem?
Yeah, it's an absolutely must-have tool for sure, and I think it's very exciting that it's coming to ZetaChain this year, specifically because later this year ZetaChain will introduce contract calls from ZetaChain to contracts on other chains, which means that arbitrary data developers will be able to transfer arbitrary data from ZetaChain to other connected chains, which opens possibilities for like omni-chain NFTs that you can also mint from Bitcoin and then transfer to Ethereum, for example. And for all these features, having a solid NFT API is really cool, because yeah, as Michael said, you don't want to do it yourself. That's just like it's it's not something you as a dApp developer should be building. It's an infrastructure layer, and it's very complex. So very excited to see this coming to ZetaChain this year.
Perfect. Thank you. In terms of collaboration and contributing to the Alchemy platform, collaborating with the team on new features, Michael, how do you guys iterate on product development and get feedback, and how can people get involved building with Alchemy?
Yeah, so the first thing is we try to stay as connected to all of the developers who build on our platform as possible. So we have a really rich and thriving Discord community. So that's a great place to get started. In that Discord, we've taken a pretty, say, like, interesting and atypical approach to like, quote unquote customer support. Instead of hiring, your typical customer support folks, we've actually hired engineers, and we have them as our kind of front line with developers in Discord and with some larger teams that we work with in direct Slack channels. And so you should find that the Alchemy folks you're interacting with in any of those channels are extremely knowledgeable about both the Alchemy platform and the chains and tools that we work with. And so I think a really good resource. But one of the reasons we do that is actually because we want to be learning from the developers we work with as much as possible and getting their feedback. So it works both ways. We're very happy to help you get the most of a chain like ZetaChain and the tooling we bring to it. But we're also extremely eager to learn about where the pain points are, where our product can extend and improve, so we can build the next product like NFT API to solve for really large pain points that developers are having. So that I would say is the biggest way, is jump into our Discord, reach out to us directly there, and let us know your feedback. The other thing I would call out is we're really ramping up our presence at conferences, in-person events, these sorts of things. So you should see us walking around in Alchemy t-shirts. Definitely grab us, let us know exactly what's on your mind, because it is one of the most important things for us as a business, is to make sure that we are super closely connected to the folks that are building in the space.
Yep, makes sense. We have to listen closely to the market.
Totally.
Yeah, and Dennis, on the ZetaChain side, being decentralized, open source, anyone can make proposals and contributions to ZetaChain. You're also running a tech ambassador program for help contributing to documentation. What are some ways that folks can get involved?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of having developers help fellow developers on Discord. I think that's a very good model. And yeah, we do have a technical ambassador program, which essentially means you contribute to an open source project, ZetaChain, right? Either by writing blog posts, documentation, code, contributing even to the core protocol. And yeah, you get experience, you get um, um, a lot of great real world blockchain experience. So let us know if you're interested. You can find me on Discord, and I'll share a link to the forum here on Twitter.
Perfect. This is great. I'm excited about the partnership. The Zeta ecosystem, Michael, is working really hard. We just released a new local and DevNet environment last week, new universal kit with these React components that people can build with off the shelf. Dennis's group is constantly updating tutorials in the docs, and now developers can build all of this using the Alchemy solution. So very excited about the partnership and stuff like API NFT support coming. To wrap up here, I want to ask both of you what advice you might have for some aspiring Web3 developers or entrepreneurs that are looking to enter the space.
Yeah, maybe I can start there. My main advice is jump in whatever way you can. I think what I found is the folks who spend their nights and weekends, their kind of free time engaging with Web3, typically are the folks who are best set up to succeed in the space long term. And so, if you can and you are excited to jump in straight to joining a Web3 company or going full time, that's fantastic. Would definitely encourage you to do so. But I think a great step on the way there is just to engage with building things as much as you can, given where you are today, and let that draw you into the space. I think the kind of skills you learn, the tools that you'll get familiar with, even spending a little bit of time in your free time starting to build is truly massive. The other thing I would call out is, we try to build a lot of resources for new developers at Alchemy. So check out our documentation, getting started guides. We actually have a series called Alchemy University, where we're explicitly trying to help people learn the skills to become professional Web3 developers, and have placed a number of graduates from that program at top Web3 companies in full-time roles. So I think that's a great thing to call out as well. And then lastly, I'll double click on the credits that we're doing with ZetaChain. Wanted to take away as many of the barriers to entry for new folks jumping into the space as possible. So please take us up on that 20K credit pool. We're really excited to work with developers in the ZetaChain ecosystem.
Thanks, Michael. We're going to share that in the dev community groups for sure. Dennis, last words here on advice for Web3 developers, entrepreneurs, from your point of view.
Yeah, I think a great path is just go to ZetaChain's GitHub, find something that you're interested in, create an issue, volunteer to make a small contribution, either through code or through documentation, and I guarantee that you'll you'll immediately be rolled into the tech ambassador program, because we're definitely looking for more contributors, and you'll get experience and just be part of a great builder community. Another path, of course, is hackathons. We're currently hosting a Wave Hack hackathon, which you can submit your project to. So go through a tutorial, figure out something you're interested in building, and submit a project. And yeah, it's a great way, great kind of entry point into blockchain. We'll be hosting more hackathons this year, so keep an eye on our X account for announcements about that.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining and sharing these insights, and looking forward to more collaboration. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks so much for hosting. It was great chatting with you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys. Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.